What is up, guys? It is the Mr. Biggs here, back with more content on Sackboy, A Big Adventure. As promised, I'm going to do a deep analysis of the trailer we got at the PlayStation 5 reveal event yesterday, and I'm also going to be analyzing any further information and or content that Sumo Digital and Sony gives us from here on out. Enough with that, let's get on with the video. Straight off the bat, the game has a fully 3D environment opposed to the usual 2.5D environment we see in the main line of LittleBigPlanet games. So far, 34 seconds into the trailer, it already seems a lot closer to something like LittleBigPlanet karting than an actual LittleBigPlanet installment. You can see the area we're looking at looks similar to a Tibetan village and or the ziggurat from LittleBigPlanet 3, which I will also bring up again later on. Right here we can see the enemies are a lot different and more animated. The movements that you see Sackboy do right here are punching, rolling / dodging. You can see checkpoints are now lying horizontally on the ground as opposed to the traditional checkpoints which are vertical standing up. Sackboy hits a big bubble here and it reveals a bunch of smaller bubbles ahead of him. Here we see the reintroduction of the grappling hook. This particular scene is very interesting because Sackboy is using a power-up we think we haven't seen before, but it has actually been used before in the LittleBigPlanet mobile game Run Sackboy Run. Here is a new power-up that we haven't seen in any previous LittleBigPlanet game. It's a frisbee that you can throw to destroy objects and enemies that flies back to you. Water can also be seen rising around the environment with bits of glitter and shapes that makes the water look unique in any LittleBigPlanet game. I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't really care about anything this enemy is doing, but what does interest me is the background, which looks a lot like the ziggurat from LittleBigPlanet 3, and also the door has 5 keyholes, which I will also bring up later. Here we can see the first prize bubble we've seen this entire trailer, which contains what looks like a sticker of Sackboy with a firefighter helmet on. Sackboy here is wearing boost boots from LittleBigPlanet 3, but instead of them just being boots, it's on his hands as well, sort of like Iron Man. Here we see Sackboy high-fiving Sackgirl, who is wearing a costume we haven't seen before, implying there's co-op and possibly emotes that you can do, kind of like Fortnite. Also in the background, there's the return of the door with the 5 keyholes I was talking about earlier, but this time it has a key in front of it. Subtly on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see an egg with a decal of a present on it. If I were to guess, it most likely contains a prize bubble that has stickers, costumes, and possibly something else. Sackgirl is seen helping Sackboy here by grabbing and pushing a piece of sponge near a bounce pad, meaning we will be able to grab objects and move them around like most LittleBigPlanet games. In this frame, we very briefly see a collectible, which was a currency used to buy costumes from Zomzom's store in the ziggurat from LittleBigPlanet 3. This further proves my point that there is a good chance we will be back in the ziggurat and possibly revisit other old friends in Sackboy, A Big Adventure. Here we can see both Sackboy and Sackgirl emoting. This could either be a victory screen for when you finish a level, or there could be actual emotes that you collect and or buy, hopefully not through microtransactions. There are now a total of 4 players being shown, implying we are 100% getting 2 to 4 player co-op. One of the newly introduced players is wearing a futuristic DJ looking costume, similar to some of the costumes we've seen in LittleBigPlanet 2, more specifically in between Avalonia and the Cosmos. The other player is wearing a bird costume that looks like other costumes we've seen from the ziggurat. All 4 players are using moving platforms that you can control to traverse the play area. Alright, so that is everything I can gather from this video, and so now I'm going to give some final thoughts on the entire trailer we just watched. First things first, the environments are very similar to LittleBigPlanet karting in the sense that they have much more animated enemies and a fully 3D play area to run around in. The ubiquity of the enemies in the trailer makes me wonder how the story mode is going to have different and unique enemies throughout the entire duration of the story mode. Another thing I noticed that kind of bothered me was the same color palettes for all enemies and backgrounds, which doesn't make the enemies complement the background at all, unlike the past LittleBigPlanet games. Away from little critiques, I'd like to touch on what I believe the future for Sackboy, A Big Adventure is going to have, and what the future of the LittleBigPlanet series will most likely look like, based on the past experience and research I've done. For one, I believe Sackboy, A Big Adventure will most likely have the return of some old play areas and possibly some old friends. I think this game will have a lot of collectibles and other cool content to experience, however, I don't know if there will be any creative mode at all, and if there is, it'll most likely be a very basic cookie cutter kind of deal. Now, keep in mind this doesn't exactly mean we're never going to create in a future LittleBigPlanet installment. I presume that Sackboy: A Big Adventure is just a spin-off in between LittleBigPlanet 3 and possibly LittleBigPlanet 4. It would make sense considering this isn't the first time this has happened. For example, in between the releases of LittleBigPlanet 1, which was released in 2008, and LittleBigPlanet 2, which was released in 2011, we got LittleBigPlanet PSP, which was released in 2009, and Sackboy's Prehistoric Moves, released in 2010. Sackboy's Prehistoric Moves is an important comparison to make to Sackboy: A Big Adventure because Sackboy's Prehistoric Moves was essentially a tech demo for LittleBigPlanet 2 to test new features, and that would most likely be the case for Sackboy: A Big Adventure as well. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you all learned something new about Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and you are also hyped for it as much as I am. Make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to show your support so I can continue to make more content like this, and also so you guys can stay caught up on information regarding Sackboy: A Big Adventure. That's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you in the next video.